And now, Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. And we have a terrific guest who's going to be with us for the next few moments, Genevive Piturro. She wrote this wonderful book, Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas. And she's also the founder of the Pajama Program, which she's going to be telling us all about throughout our interview. Thanks so much for being here, Genevieve.
So nice to be here, Deborah. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. First of all, tell me a little bit about you, your work, and what led you to write this book and to get involved with the Pajama Program, which you founded.
Sure. Well, I'm the first of four. My dad came off the boat from Italy, wanting to give his children, great education and family. And I was all for the education. And I wanted to be Mary Tyler Moore. In fact, I wanted to be that female executive climbing the corporate ladder. And I wanted to be single. And, I guess it was a workaholic, I could say. And I just was so interested in seeing how far I could go as a woman in New York City in the entertainment business. And I was in TV syndication. And I was on my way for many years, more than a dozen years. And one day I literally had a voice in me that I heard while I was alone in my apartment. And it asked me a question. This voice asked me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough?
Mm.
As you can imagine.
Yeah, but it's interesting because women of a certain age, I'll say, it was almost like we couldn't quite have one or the other. We had to prove ourselves in the boardroom, and you gave it your all, and you really didn't give as much time probably to the personal relationships, right? And you had told me earlier that you didn't quite think about kids and a family because you were thinking about the success of your career, in which you were. And then just one day you thought, oh, there's more here, correct?
Yes, I did. And I really thought, gee, my parents had some good advice that I never really thought applied to me, the importance of having a family. And I thought, well, why did Dad want us to have a great education if he really wanted us to settle down right away and have grandchildren? But I was following my path and I really enjoyed it. And until that day, then I heard that voice, and as you say, I was single. I wasn't really looking to get married or settle down. I was still climbing and trying to find that independence. But when I heard that voice, I remember that day, it made me sit down and it shook me. And I realized I was alone. I was almost 38 and I was alone. I guess I was, just by 37. And I thought I did miss having children of my own. And how could I bring children into my life? And I started to think about the children I see on the news being taken by police or social workers to a safe space. And I thought, how can I find where these kids are? And I called the police and asked them, and I was led to some emergency shelters. And that's how I started to go in at night and read to them. And they were welcoming, and that there were some experiences in the early days that led to so much more.
You know what I love? Your mom read to you a lot as a child at night, right? So tell me about that.
Yes, four kids. I'm the oldest one. My sister and I shared a room with my brothers, and she would come to both our rooms one at a time with stories and giggles and a snack sometimes. And of course, we always had pajamas. That wasn't ever a question. And she'd make up her own stories, and we would giggle. And I didn't realize until all those years later that what she was giving us was not just a pair of pajamas and a story. It was that comfort and love and that security that the children I would meet in the shelters just didn't have. And one story after another at night led me to the moment where I realized there was something I could do.
So you showed up at these shelters and made arrangements for you to read to these kids. Tell me how that worked.
Yes, I simply called and I said something along the lines of, I'm a nice lady, can I come read to the children at night? I know it sounds still silly because it was pre 9/11 and it really was pretty much that simple. And they said, you sound like a nice lady. And off I went. And I sat every night with whatever children were there. I went to different shelters. One led me to another, New York City and in Westchester County outside New York where I was living. And I sat on the floor, and these quiet little children, I could tell they'd been through some traumas. I could tell their clothes weren't clothes that they'd had, replaced. They wore the same clothes, or some of them didn't fit them. And it was
Wow.
heartbreaking, and it was so quiet. But the stories I could tell brought them peace. And you know what? It brought me peace that I didn't have, that quiet hour on the floor. I sat on the floor because there was nothing in the room. It was a bare room, little chairs for the kids, but nothing for an adult. And when I sat on the floor and they came in, they sat on the floor with me. And that's how we started, always, even through Pajama Program, reading to the kids sitting on the floor. But the moment that changed everything, Deborah, was when one night I happened to follow the staff where they were bringing these children. They were 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, into another room to go to sleep. And I wanted to see, so I followed. And when I peered in, it was just as bare as the room I was reading to them in. There were 2 or 3 huddling on one surface. Some of them were crying. No pajamas to change into. The staff were lovely, but there wasn't any individual storytelling. And lights out. And as they were nudging me back to the door, because I think I was in shock, the memories of the description I gave you of my mom reading to us was flooding back to me.
Wow.
I asked, can I bring some pajamas next week? And they thought that was a nice idea and said, sure. And I did. And that night when I had those pajamas, I thought I was doing such a great thing. And I was so excited, and I brought them. I read to the children, and then I said, I have a special surprise for you. And I asked them to line up one by one. I gave them a pair that I felt would fit. I brought so many, so I never leave anyone out. And there was one little girl halfway through, and she was about up to my hips, and her ponytails were a mess, and her clothes were too tight. And she'd been so quiet all night, and she wouldn't take them. She kept shaking her head like this. No, no, no. She was afraid. She watched me give them, but she didn't want to go to sleep. She wanted to watch me. And at the end, I could see her in the corner with the staff person. And I went over with a pair of pajamas, and I tried one more time. I got on my knees and I said, honey, these will fit you. They're pink, just like your shirt. Don't you want to take your new pajamas? And she whispered to me, what are they? What are pajamas?
That's a stunning moment. Yeah.
That moment crippled me. It erased any desire I had to do anything but steal whatever I had to do to get pajamas and books. So these children, I wanted to wrap my arms around them and put those pajamas on every single one of those children, because that was, in that moment, I thought would make her feel loved.
Did she put them on?
The staff did help her to put them on, and she looked at me and she gave me a little smile. Oh, I could feel it now. And then they put her into the bedroom, and everything stopped and everything changed that night.
So how was it going back to your day job, right?
Oh,
you're high-powered executive in the entertainment industry. And by night, you're helping these little children who desperately need your voice, your pajamas, everything that you have to offer. How was that? How did you get through it? Tell me.
You hit the nail on the head. It was painful. It was just awful. I became obsessed, and I wrote honestly about the entire journey in my book, and the ups and the downs and the pain of this. I didn't tell anyone, because I didn't know what this was. And how do you tell people that know you as this executive climbing to, the top floor, or at least wanting to, that I wanted to throw it all away. I didn't care anymore. There are children who don't have pajamas and who are going to sleep afraid and alone. I couldn't even wrap my arms or my words around how to even begin to tell anyone that. Plus, I needed to make money, and I was obsessed with the pajamas and the books for the kids, and I was trying to make money and continue my work. And I say that my head gave me all the reasons why I couldn't jump, every single one. about what I'd be losing. What was I so stupid to think that this would help or change anything for the children? What would people think? How was I going to support myself? Just punishing myself, my brain. But my heart, it's my heart voice that spoke up that day, asking me that question: if this is the next 30 years, is this enough? It kept pushing through.
Yeah.
And and I describe it, one day it flipped. And I think my head just said, well, it's no use, because this girl's going to do it. This little heart thing is going to push it. And it switched. And my heart started giving me the courage to start to form the words, to start to tell somebody, and to allow myself to follow that. And my brain took the back seat, but gave me the smarts
to do this. You know what I love? I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said your heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of each chapter, you have the heart of the matter. I loved how you ended each chapter with that. It's sort of a summing up, right? The heart of the matter, the heart of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the lesson learned in this chapter. Right. I love that. There's many of them. Put your money where your voice is, right? Meditate, then look for the raindrops. Get to the other side. Mentors are the key. That's very important. Mentors are the key. And you were the mentor to all these children. Think about that. Imagine how they looked forward to seeing you again every day or every evening or when you showed up. That was beautiful. But you have many of them, and they were wonderful lessons learned for me too, as I'm reading your book. There was so much for each of us to get out of this book, which is why I really want to implore people to read it. It's a heartwarming, true story of your journey to getting to the other side for your life, right? It's amazing how by not having your own biological children, all the children that you actually have, right?
I know, I think about that sometimes, and I got to be part of their nighttime, and when they went to sleep, and hopefully their dreams, maybe not a nightmare, that night. I pray. And it's not the same as being a mom. Moms have the greatest responsibility in the world. They're bringing up, our future leaders, our future citizens. And but I hope that the difference that I started, and thousands of people, we wouldn't be 20 years old this year.
No.
If thousands of people didn't feel the same thing, that hole that I must have felt when she asked me what are pajamas, it was not acceptable. And so many people felt that. Like I talk about, it's not the power of one, it's the power of one another. And that's
another. I love that. Yeah.
That's how the power of one another is what moves mountains and moves people.
Let's talk about someone who really moved a few mountains for you. Let's talk about Oprah. Right? Where were you when you suddenly picked up the phone? Tell me about that quickly. Just sort of walk us through it, and all the pajamas that were collected. Wow.
I know. I was thrilled that they gave me the okay to put the picture in my book. Yes, I was sitting with waiting for the kids to come in all by myself, and the phone rang, and someone said, "Hi, I'm so and so, the producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show. Do you have a minute?" And I described in my book, do I have a minute? Like I have as long as you want.
If I can get through this minute, right? It's like,
so half of exactly, Deborah, half of my brain was talking like a normal person, and the other half was screaming at me saying, "You're talking to the producer, this is the Oprah Winfrey Show." And I kept calm and I answered the questions. And that happened for a few weeks until they finally said, "We're booking you." And I hadn't told anybody, because the last thing you want to do is have to tell somebody they didn't pick me.
So what happened? So you went out there, then what?
Went out there in a snowstorm, prayed, but the plane got there safely, got on the show, and found out, I don't want to give it away. You can see in the book, and you can watch it on YouTube or on my website. And there, all the questions that they told me they were going to ask, and all the rehearsals on the phone and everything, it was just to throw me off. After a few questions, there was a huge reveal, and I was crying, Oprah was crying, and it was the audience participation, the television audience. It was an incredible moment. It was so great. They played that show 3 times over the next 2 years. The response was incredible, and you can see it's just a raw moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to watch, because I also looked it up on YouTube, and you know, my jaw was dropping. I kind of couldn't imagine what it was like at that moment to be you, because you did this organically. You didn't just sort of get involved in something because you thought it was the right thing to do. When you got involved, it was something you had to do. You know, you wanted to be involved with children, and you recalled your mom reading to you and having nice pajamas. The whole thing was just so real. And that's what's amazing about this. I mean, if you do something real from your heart, as you like to say in your book, look what happens, and look who you reach. You reach Oprah. Right?
Never in a million years ever thought it would be anything but something that I did, you know, when I could get away from work. But it was an obsession. I had to. There was no way not to.
So the Pajama Program's been going on nearly 20 years, right?
Yeah, 20 years this year. Officially, for me, it was like 22 years.
Right, because when you first started it, but officially
Yes.
It's been 20 years.
Yes.
Tell me where it is right now.
We have 63 chapters around the U.S.
That's big.
And
okay.
Those chapters are all volunteer run. We cover every city, every state. We have thousands and thousands of community partners that care for the children. Some of the places the children live, some of the places that care for them. If there's a family member, care for them, and both. From the worst case scenarios to those who need a hand up. So everything about Pajama Program and everything we're doing moving forward, because it's the bedtime experience, the routine that gives those children what they need. So we say it's a good night for a good day, but all of that is on pajamaprogram.org, and everything up to the minute can be found on pajamaprogram.org.
How are you doing this now during COVID? It's got to be really difficult. Are you, sort of online with people, or how's that working?
Well, we have a lot of people. The staff is great putting the stories on Facebook. People are doing live stories and tape stories on Facebook for any of the children that have access to that. And the pajamas and books are getting shipped out. So that doesn't stop. It's just, we have a couple of reading centers, and sometimes some of the chapters read and meet the kids, then that can't happen now.
Yeah. How can people like me, my friends, anyone watching and listening to this, how can we get involved? I know to go on your website first and foremost and read the book, because it'll inspire you to not just get involved, but get involved with something that's close to your heart. If you ever wondered, gosh, can I do it? Yeah, you could do it. Especially as women, we can do anything. But how can we get involved?
Well, for Pajama Program, it's pajamaprogram.org. All over, you can see how to get in touch locally, what activities are happening, and what our new goals are for the year and moving forward. And that's great. And then for anyone who's interested in what I do in my personal strategy sessions or speaking or whatever, it's GenevivePiturro.com. And you can find the book there or on Amazon. But it's all about now inspiring some of the adults who have that dream on the back burner, and something's nudging them to really find meaning. The subtitle of my book is How to Transform Your Life, Embrace the Human Connection, and Lead with Meaning. And those are three of the lessons that I learned and I include in the book. And a lot of people, especially in these times, are realizing what's important and living with meaning and on purpose, taking whatever's on that back burner, take it to the front in some way, is what I do now.
It also said to me to keep going, right? Like something was nudging at you, but you weren't quite sure where you were supposed to go. So you just sort of kept at it and thought in the back of your mind, there's something else out there, until it all clicked. Because if something's nudging at you, I think it's doing that for a reason, don't you think? It's telling you to try to pivot.
Ignore it.
Say that again.
I think we ignore a lot of those signs that we get because they're whispers until they knock you over the head.
They knock you over the head.
Scream,
so to speak. Let's talk about knocking over the head. You come from an Italian family. I do too, right? We were talking about, not that we were knocked over the head, but you know what I mean? I come from a very fun, loud,
yes. Hugging family, which is weird this time. Yeah.
Right? Big time. And we talked about that, right? Your father came here from Italy. And how did their lessons, their messages feed through you, if you will? Even as kids, right? We'd look at them and say, what? But as time goes by, we realize those lessons last with us forever. Like, what could you tell us about your family, particularly being Italian, that really stuck
Yeah.
with you?
Well, I think my dad was all about hard work
Yeah.
and showing up every day and an education. That's why he came. His father brought him to America at age 15, and he wanted his son to have a good life here. And of course, my father at 15 wanted to have his future in America. And they came here and they worked really, really hard. And, I remember my dad coming home late, just work, work, work. And my mom, we were blessed that she was a stay-at-home mom. So she was the love, and not that my father didn't love us, but she was the demonstrative one who was always helping us with whatever we needed, from homework to, those kisses, to teaching us, cooking, and whatever was love and home and mom. So it was a combination. And I think that for me helped me get to the point where I had the education. I did work hard, so I was no stranger to hard work. And boy, did I need it when I decided that the mushy heart part of me was going to win out in the life category. And I needed every lesson I learned working to get me through starting a nonprofit that I had no idea.
Yeah.
One of the funny stories is I got a bunch of packages from a magazine article, and in one of them, someone said, please send us your 501c3. I got married in this, so that shows you love comes when everything else is doing really well too. I had a universal nudge, and a gentleman plopped right into my world at the right time. And I said to him, what is this 501c3 thing? So all the hard work I learned from my dad helped me to respond to this emotional need, not only in these children, but in me. And I think in all the people that volunteer and help and support and donate, we all feel that heart connection. We all feel like we were in front of that little girl, all of us, and had to hear her question, what are pajamas?
They must be very proud of you. I know, sadly, Dad is not with us anymore. But geez, what were their thoughts about what you've done?
Well, my dad, when I first told him, was a little skeptical.
Of course, right? It's like, wait, you're not going to work
He had
tomorrow? What was he saying?
Yeah, who's going to pay the bills? Do you know you have a mortgage?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? And my mom was all over it. She said, I don't know how, but you're going to figure it out, and it's a beautiful idea.
Wonderful.
And thank goodness I had both.
Yeah. Oh, Genevieve, it's such a delight to talk to you. Any parting words that you want to say to our audience? I mean, we'll tell them how to get in touch with you, because I'm sure there's going to be folks out there who want to participate and send pajamas, or even sign up at their local chapter. But anything you'd like to say to them?
It takes all of us to realize, everyone says the power of one, look what you did, the power of one, and I've learned it's not the power of one. It's not about that. It's the power of one another. Like I said before, it's unbelievable what we can do. We can move mountains, but we can move people. And that's the most important thing that I take away. Listen to your heart voice, live your life on purpose with meaning, and learn to embrace the human connection. It's really the power of one another that makes the difference.
And listen to your heart, as you like to say. Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas. Please, everyone, pick this book up. A lot of us have some time, and this is one that I would truly, heartily recommend reading. Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas. And please look up the Pajama Program. Very likely that it's near your community, that maybe you can get involved. And we're going to put all that social media stuff on our Facebook, on our YouTube, on our Instagram, so you can look up Genevieve as well. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Deborah,
you're an incredible
woman.
Like
talking to a friend.
No, it really is, right? We've got a lot in common. We really do. So I'm looking forward to staying in touch too, and seeing how I can help as well. So thanks so much, Genevieve, and much love to you and everyone watching. And I appreciate you all watching this. Deborah Kobylt Live. Also, Little Italy of Los Angeles. We're going to try and play this podcast also on that page, so which would be great. So
I should
thanks,
say ciao. Arrivederci.
Yeah. Ciao, Bellas. Ciao, Bellas. Thank you so much. And you'll find us again, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and just anywhere that you get your podcast, you'll find us. Thanks very much for joining us. And everyone, please take care and stay healthy. Bye-bye.